Johns is going to be stepping in this week or not. He's usually on way before now. So
I know, I wonder. It's interesting.
yeah, wonder if daylight savings time got him all mucked up too.
Oh, maybe.
Because they don't have that over in the Philippines.
Right.
Anyhow, so David and I were talking. I want to kind of get everybody else's opinion too. This week, the assignments, they're all pretty much interconnected. And it's a lot of team decisions that we need to make. And so what I was thinking is if we could make assignments and then everybody just have their research and throw it in the Google Doc before Thursday, then we can kind of go over that Thursday and make our kind of decide which direction we want to go, and then people can write their stuff up. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I haven't looked at the assignments yet. So the research, will we all research kind of the same thing, or is it different topics, or?
It's different topics, but they kind of build on each other.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and share real quick. I did put it in the Google Doc already.
Oh, sweet.
So give me just a second. Okay, can you guys see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for example, 10.1 is basically discussing modes of entry that we think are unrealistic or impractical, which is, that shouldn't be too difficult. And then 10.2 is kind of narrowing down the ones that are going to be a little bit more practical, and then discussing the pros and cons for each of those. Then when we get to 10.3, based on what we have on 10.2, then we're making a recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody reply to Brother John's real quick. He just shot us a message.
Oh.
Send him the link. I think he might have logged into the wrong one.
Oh.
So yeah, he just sent a message.
Either of you have it?
I can pull it up real quick.
Not logged into anything, but
I just deleted the
Okay, I
link.
just forwarded it to him, I hope. Oh,
Okay, cool.
Got it.
Yay. Okay. All right. So, and basically each one just kind of seems to build on the one before, but it's a lot of group decisions that we need to make based off of the information that we have.
mm-hmm.
So I think it's something that, if we have David making a decision for 10.2 and Josh making a decision for 11.1 and they're not working together, then we're going to have just a really not cohesive paper.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So should we I'm trying to think how the best way to do it then. Should we I don't even know.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that plan? Nikki, before you joined, we were talking about...
sorry, I was a little confused, sorry.
It's okay. A lot of the sections that we have this week, they kind of build off of each other, and you need to have decisions that have been made in the prior one. So if you're doing 11.1, then you have to wait for whoever's doing 10 to finish that up. So what we were talking about is just having everybody do their research, throw all of the research in the Google Doc, and then we meet on Thursday, we can make those decisions.
Okay, because this one isn't due this week, right? So we'll have time to decide to work on it. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. So all the research due in the Google Doc by Thursday for all the sections, and then we'll assign them out. Is that right?
Yeah. Does that work for everybody? I mean,
that sounds wonderful.
Brother Johns, what do you think of that approach? Hi.
I didn't hear it all. I'm sorry. I should have changed or updated that link, and I didn't. So I apologize to all of you. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Let me go through the rubric with you, because there's some things that you're going to need to know, or some things that need to be done. First of all, did anybody have any questions on last week's document, or last week's submission?
But we haven't gotten the grade back yet, so we're not sure if we hit it or missed it totally.
Yeah, and I will. I'm working on those right now. I hope to have them all done by the time you wake up in the morning. Yeah, but I haven't even looked at yours, so I can't give you an idea.
Okay. Well, we'll probably have questions after that.
Okay, that'll be fun. Okay, let's go over the rubric. We're going to start with 10.0, which is your entry strategy. This is the modes of entry. Now, as you read in your preparation material for this week, you're going to find that there are two pieces of information that are out there regarding modes of entry. One of them is a one-slide PowerPoint, or maybe it's just a handout or something. Anyway, it's one slide. And the other one is about a 15-minute PowerPoint. Please do not use the one-page thing that's out there. It's incorrect. It's got some incorrect information on it, and it doesn't have all of the information that you need. If you will watch the modes of entry PowerPoint, it only lasts about, I think it's 15 minutes, and it will pretty much answer all of your questions regarding the modes of entry and give you all of the information that you need to have. But let me talk to you a minute about modes of entry. What a mode of entry is, that doesn't mean that you're going to fly your stuff in or you're going to drive in. It means, how are you going to legally enter that country as a business entity? And so you have to know what the legal business entities are. So as an example, in the United States, you are either going to come in as a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a limited liability corporation, an S Corp, a C Corp, or in some states they have a professional PLLC, a professional limited liability company. So it's, how are you going to be recognized by the government as a business? Now that's the raw or the real-time definition of a mode of entry. But over time, other things have been recognized as modes of entry, but they're really not. But you're going to have to discuss them. So let me quickly tell you what some of them are. One of them is a joint venture. A joint venture occurs when Company A and Company B come together and form a third company, Company C. And the owners of Company C, the major stockholders, are Company A and Company B. But C is a separate entity from A and C. Now, a lot of students, what is your product?
It's the full spectrum light, the SAD light.
Which lights again?
The full spectrum light to treat the SAD.
The light bulb.
Oh, that's right. You're doing that. Okay. Now, some of you, in that case, what somebody might do is to say, oh, well, we're going to have a joint venture with General Electric because they make light bulbs. Okay, that's going to be really good for your company to do that. GE is going to just laugh and laugh and laugh and say, are you kidding me? What is it that you can bring to this relationship that would benefit us? All we see is liability, and that is that you are a small company, you are a startup company, you don't know what you're doing, you don't have a logistics supply chain in place. There is absolutely no benefit whatsoever for us to enter into a joint venture with you. So a lot of students, unless I tell them that and be as blunt as I've just been, they'll go in and form say we're going to do a joint venture with General Motors or, with Amazon or something like that. And I can tell you now it ain't going to happen. So when a joint venture occurs, it's because it's of a benefit to Company A and Company B, and maybe even Company C. There might be 3 companies that's involved. But it entails creating a separate organization from the other stockholders. You can already know what sole proprietorship is. A partnership is just where 2 of you come together and start a company. Now, and then we get into corporations. Now, the difference between a sole proprietorship and a partnership and any of those corporations that I've mentioned is that if you do something wrong or there's a failure with your product, if you are a sole proprietor or a partnership, you can be sued directly. You are responsible for it. Whereas if you are a corporation is a legally recognized separate entity. And so they can't sue you because all you are is a stockholder. You might own 100% of the stock, but nevertheless, in order for them to get to you, they have to go through the company and sue the company. And so those are your real legitimate forms. Now, like I said, over time, some of these other things have come in to be recognized as modes of entry, and they're not true modes of entry. They are ways to help your legal entity to find success. So let me talk about some of those, and you need to cover these in your paper as modes of entry. I just want you to understand they're not really modes of entry. Franchising. Okay, when you go down to McDonald's, a lot of you might think that you're buying a hamburger from McDonald's, and you're not. You're buying a hamburger from the Kristen Ferris Food Supply Company. And they go in and they go to McDonald's and say, we would like to buy a McDonald's franchise. And you pay for that franchise. And then what happens is there are certain requirements placed upon you. And those requirements are that you wear, the little hat and the funny aprons, and that your menu has these items on there, that you cook your French fries in this particular kind of oil, and you cook them for this long. Your Big Mac has to have this stuff on there. And you go to a McDonald's University or something to learn their proven and tested methods of doing business. They're going to teach you how to be successful. And in return, you can advertise yourself. It's not going to say the Kristen Ferris Food Company 2 blocks down the street. It's going to say McDonald's down the street, because that's who you are representing as McDonald's. And so that's what a franchise is. A license is similar, but not exactly the same thing. Franchises are normally used in a service industry, such as McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Time, even Jiffy Lube. All of those are franchises. A license is where you are given license to use a particular formula or patent or something like that is owned by somebody else. And so you're in Russia. When you go to Russia and you buy a Coca-Cola, you are not buying a drink that was made by Coca-Cola. You are buying a drink that was made by the Moscow Bottling Company, and they have gone and bought a license from Coca-Cola to be their representative or to use their formula in Russia and to make cans that are red and silver and say Coca-Cola on the outside, or say Coke on the outside. And that's what a license is. So it differs a little bit from a franchise. Too many people think that they are the same thing, and they're not. They're different. Another type of tool or a way to help you that people sometimes get confused with each other is what's called merger and acquisition. You'll hear those terms used together, and it makes it sound like they're the same thing, and they are not. A merger is where company A and company B talk together and say, you know, we could come together and rather than forming a joint venture, let's just come together as one company and produce this product. And so the two companies come together as one company, and one of the companies will cease to exist, or they may create an entirely new company. But they merge together to become one. An acquisition, on the other hand, is where it is normally not a friendly deal. It's where one company wants the other company, and the other company says, no, I don't want to do that. And they say, oh, it's all right, we'll just buy all of your stock. And then they buy all of the stock, and then they dissolve this company. So at the end of the day, the acquired company is gone. Now the acquiring company now owns all of the assets, the patents, the copyrights, the products, the profits, everything. However, that also includes their liabilities. So any bills, outstanding bills they owe, or if there's a lawsuit or something else, this company now assumes all of that because there's only one company. This one becomes this company. The other thing that happens is that there's normally then going to be, you may not have to have as many buildings, so you can sell off one of the buildings. You're certainly not going to need to have 2 HR departments or 2 accounting departments. So people are going to get laid off. And they always say that they keep the very best, but a lot of the times if it's a toss-up between the very best from company A and the very best from company B, they're going to keep A, and B is going to be in the unemployment line. However, if they've got some dead wood, it's also a good opportunity for them at that time to get rid of the dead wood and just say your position is redundant and you're out of the job. So that's the difference then between a merger and an acquisition. Any questions on any of those types of entities or any of those types of business things that happen? Okay, now I'm going to give you an example of something that is wrong and incorrect on that piece of paper, that one slide or whatever it is that I'm telling you not to use. It says that one form of entry is, and they either use greenfield or brownfield. I don't remember which one they use, but they put one of them on there and they don't even mention the other one. You need to understand that that is not a mode of entry. What a greenfield or a brownfield is simply designating the way that you are going to establish your building or your physical location. So a green field, what that means is, picture in your mind that you drive in your car and you drive up, and there's a nice green field there with lots of grass and stuff like that, and it's vacant. And you buy that lot and you build your own building. You build it according to your specifications and requirements. It's exactly what you need. The rooms are where you want them. The electricity is wired the way you want it. It's a new facility. It's a green field, and you build the building. On the other hand, a brown field is you pull up to this same lot and there's an old abandoned factory on there. And you look at the price of that and say, gosh, I can get that building for a whole lot less than what it would cost me to build a new one. Now I am going to have to do some renovation. I'll need to knock out this wall. I'll need to bring some extra electricity in. I'll need to do this. I'll need to do that. But you're taking an existing building and converting it to your needs. And that's a brownfield. That is not a mode of entry. It is just simply a term that is used to signify, after you've determined your mode of entry, how are you going to establish yourself in that country? Well, I'm going to establish myself with a greenfield project. Okay, so it's not a mode of entry. And so in 10.1, you're going to need to identify. Now, see, I don't like the way that this. I really don't like this new thing because it says identify and discuss the mode of entry option that's likely to be oh no, no, I beg your pardon. In 10.1, you are going to take all of those modes of entry that are impractical, that would not work for you, and you're going to list them and give a brief description of them. Then in 10.2, you're going to take everything that's left, because you've eliminated the ones that are not practical, so whatever's left should be practical. And you're going to list them and give a brief definition of them and what they are. And then in 10.3, you are going to take all of those things that you've mentioned in 10.2 and say it is recommended that a joint venture be used as a mode of entry into this country, or it can be you could say something like I forgot wholly owned subsidiary. A wholly owned subsidiary, remember that in this scenario, it's like you are a member or an employee of a U.S. company and they want to expand into Russia. And you are exploring whether or not that's a feasible thing to do. If they decide, if your company decides that it is, and they then establish their business, there's probably going to be, there's probably going to be a rule in most countries. There's a rule that says the majority of ownership must be by a citizen of that country. And so you'd have 51% that's owned by a Russian or controlled by a Russian, and 49% that is controlled and owned by your company. Now, usually there's some type of an agreement to where you are going to control that company because you're going to be the one that puts the majority of money into it. You're going to build a building. You're going to do all of the costs to get it going and set it up. And that's a wholly owned subsidiary that is owned by the parent company that's set up in a foreign country. Okay? All right, so that takes care then of the type. Make sure that you list each one of the modes of entry and give me a definition so that I know that you know what you're talking about. Then in 11.0, you're going to identify at least 2 risks that would accompany whatever mode of entry that you have chosen. So one of those, just as an example, one of them might be if you were in a joint venture, one risk is that the other company doesn't agree with you and you don't get your way all the time. You have to compromise. If it's a franchise, a risk might be that somebody sues that company, a negative publicity comes in and ruins your business. So those are the type of things you just have to show the vice president that you have really thought this through. You know the benefits, and you also know what some of the risks are. And this is a rule that you will want to follow in all of your business dealings, and that is don't go to your boss with a problem unless you've also got a solution or a suggestion, either to mitigate that risk or to eliminate that risk, one of the two. Now, Section 12, this is dealing with your supply chain. It's going to first, well, it is dealing with your supply chain, but there are 2 things where there could be a problem here that I want to just prepare you for. One of them is in 12.2. Sometimes some of the groups have a little bit of a hard time finding the average tariff for the host country, in your case, for Russia. Please remember that the product, the light bulb that you're going to be bringing in, the tariff is not on that light bulb. The tariff is on the category that light bulb fits into. So the first thing you have to do is to determine what category does that light bulb fit into. Once you've done that, then you're going to look at that category and you are going to find the harmonized tariff code for that and the average tariff for that harmonized code. And then you're going to enter that, you're going to discuss that in section 12.2. It says use the WTO tariff database to identify the average MFM applied tariff charged by your country. So you can, that's where you can get that. If you run into problems, then let me know, because sometimes the students do run into a problem with that. But you should be able to do it, but don't hesitate to contact me if you run into a problem. Now, on 12.3, this is where you are going to identify at least 3 sources where you can get your product. Now, I'm not sure if you're planning on, or have you decided, are you going to make the product, or are you going to import the product in and sell it?
What we had talked about before is we were going to import like the filament and make the light bulb itself in Russia.
Okay. Just make sure that you have something that you are importing. Whatever that is that you're importing, and I wouldn't go with more than one thing. You know, don't say we're going to import the filament and we're going to import the glass, because then you have to go down 2 different paths. And you really only need, for this assignment, to go down one path to show me that you understand what a tariff is, how it's applied, and how you find your sources. So you're going to be better off saying you've got everything except the filament, and you're going to import the filament. So then what you would do is in 12.3, you would identify 3 sourcing companies that can provide you with that filament. You're going to consider several things in making that choice. 1 is, what is the tariff to import that? 2 is the geographical location. If it's in a country right next to yours, that's a whole lot cheaper than you importing from halfway across the world to get there. And then I'll talk about some other things on that in just a minute. So you identify the 3 sourcing companies. You talk about each one and what the pros and the cons are for each company. This one's been in business this long. They have this much experience. They have this type of a product line. They've received these awards. You also would want to point out this one, however, is being sued by the government for safety reasons, or whatever it is that might be there. Then we're going to get down to 12.5. Now it's going to be my suggestion, and that's all this is a suggestion. But it would be my suggestion that you assign 1 person to 12.5, and that's all that they do. That needs to be somebody that has an interest in logistics. If you are looking at supply chain, and by the way, there are always openings for good supply chain managers, and it pays very well. But you've got to enjoy doing that kind of thing. So what you are going to do in 12.5 is put together a proposed logistics plan. And in that proposed logistics plan, you're going to say, of the 3 sources that we have identified above in 12.3, of those 3 sources, it is recommended that we use Company A. Now, Company A is located in Salt Lake City, Utah. So the filament will be manufactured there. We will then put it on a truck, and we will use the XYZ trucking company and ship it to the Port of Los Angeles. That trip will take 3 days and will cost so much per container or per ton or whatever it's going to be. It'll cost so much to get it to the port. Once it's at the port, it will be uploaded onto a ship from the LNM shipping company. It will take 45 days for it to ship and to arrive in country, and it will arrive at port so-and-so and cost this much money. When it arrives at the port, it will go through the importing process, and the tariffs and customs amounts will be paid, and then we'll put it on a truck from the TDY trucking company and take it to our manufacturing facility. That's expected to cost this much money, and will take 1 day to make the transportation. So that's what you're doing on your logistics planning. Does need to be fairly much in detail. That information is readily available on the internet. You can go to some expediters, they're called, or you can go to some third-party shipping companies. There's a number of different ways when you Google that you'll find that you'll run into. So that's what's on your rubric for next week. What questions do you have? How can I help you?
None yet. I'm sure we will once we start researching.
I'm sure that you will. Okay, I will be in my office if you need me. Thank you for working as hard as you do and doing the job that you do. I appreciate it. And I really am glad to have you in class. So let me know if you run into problems.
Thank you.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sweet.
Alrighty. So do we want to go ahead and just make assignments?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have anything that they were really wanting to do?
I kind of really want to do the legal part, like the modes of entry with like the different corporations and that kind of thing, unless someone else really, really wants it. But that's like totally like right up my alley.
So like 10.1 and 10.2?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I can do the third one too, like 10.3, because I think that's like the recommendation from the first ones.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I'm like, that's totally my thing.
Alrighty.
Unless anyone else like really, really wants it.
I was kind of thinking of doing 11.1 unless someone else wanted to do it, but
Okay. Anyone else want to fight him for
go for it.
it? Okay, cool. Josh, any preferences?
No, I don't have any preferences. I'll take whichever.
Okay. David, do you want to take 11.1 and 12.1?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Josh, do you want 12.2 and actually let me take a look real quick.
While you're taking a look at that, real quick question, guys. For 11.1, it says explain and discuss the 2 risks that you have. Should I just have like a couple risks for each one, and then when we decide what we're going to do, I'll focus on that one more? Or should I wait on that one and just focus on 12.1 till Thursday?
Let's see.
So is it like logistical risks, or is it like?
Yeah, so 11.1, it's kind of playing off of your recommendations, Nikki. So I think David,
for like mode of entry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, what are the risks of doing that mode of entry? So should I wait on that one and just focus on 12.1 till Thursday?
Yeah, focus on 12.1 for now.
Okay.
And then one.
And I'll try to get that in there as quickly as possible. I mean, at the very least, like all the different modes, and then like I don't know, he said like the, like way out, or what do you say, like the impractical versus the practical. And then that way, hopefully that's a little bit easier to kind of work from there. And then hopefully, I mean, like once I see which ones are practical, it should be a pretty quick decision.
Okay. Just
yeah, like it should
message
all
on the
flow
group
pretty
thing or
well.
something, and then I'll go and research it.
But yeah, I'll definitely make sure to like hustle on that, so
Cool.
you don't have to wait too long.
No worries, no worries.
Sounds good. Okay. Okay, so let me just take a quick look at 12.2. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections left and 3 people. So, Josh, you want to take 12.2?
Wait, I think we have 4 people left because I don't have one. You don't. Well, Camille, Tanner, is he on?
Tanner's not in yet, no. So we have 12.3, 12.4, and 12.5 between Tanner and Camille, and then you and I were going to be editing.
Oh, right.
So 12.3, let's just go ahead and assign 3 and 4 to Tanner, and then Camille can take 12.5.
I was gonna say, yeah, because you said to just make sure only one person gets 12.5, so.
And then if you want to switch with each other, they can.
So 12, 3, and 4 is Tanner, is that right?
Yeah. And then we'll give 12.5 to Camille.
So my 12.1 and 2.
Yeah, you've got, no, David has 12.1, you have 12.2.
Okay, so just 12.2.
Yeah, and then maybe you can help Tanner out with his because he's got 12.3 looks like it might be a little bit in depth.
Okay.
But if you want to help him out, then that would be awesome.
All right.
And then Kristen and I were talking when we get the graded one back, hopefully tomorrow, then we'll go ahead and just start making those edits on it so you guys can focus strictly on this and not worry about getting the edits on the.
Yeah, I just say thank you so much. That's amazing.
Well, and we were
for everybody virtually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then that way you guys don't have to worry about it, and we can make sure that it's done pretty quickly within the time frame of when he's giving it to us while it's still fresh in our mind.
Yeah.
Which just kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. When we know the layout of the paper, what everything entails. We spent lots of time on that thing Saturday.
Oh, yes, we did.
So it makes sense to just,
yeah, let's just
write whatever is needed.
Yeah, just knock it out this week. Cool. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Girls are amazing. All right, perfect. So then just Thursday at 7, right? No, 7:30.
7.
Sorry, I've got a bunch of Zoom meetings for different classes and it's starting to bleed together. So are we 7 or 7:30 on Thursday?
7.
7. Okay. I'm writing this down. Okay, sorry guys.
Oh, good.
We're almost done.
I know. Only 5 weeks left. I'm kind of excited.
I know. Me too. Well, Kristen should be really excited because she is done.
So excited.
She's so ready for this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, great. We will
All right, awesome.
Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
Have a great week.
Good night. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.